Sitting in front of me, you will find 3 different levels of skateboard, 2 of which you've certainly seen before, one of which perhaps not so much so. The first one, your regular 8.25, we've all seen one, we've all skated one. Most people pick this one. In the number 2 slot, we've got the 10-inch Santa Cruz Thrasher board. Again, still fairly popular. You see a lot of people skating one of these, especially if they're a slightly older gentleman. And in our 3rd and final slot, what we're going to be talking about today is the Swampzilla. Now, they started off making these egg-shaped boards that are slightly wider, more swollen, you could say, in the middle, and have a slightly thinner tip at either end. They started off doing them a bit bigger than a normal board, and slowly it's just developed and evolved into this 13-inch beast. Now, this grip job was set up by my friend Josh. You've seen him in the videos before on the main channel, and it's an absolute leviathan. Look how wide this bitch is. We've got the egg graphic on the front, and then we've also got rails set here just so Josh doesn't lose his graphic, even though technically it's already started to go. Either way, I'm going to tell you exactly what I like, what I don't like, and whether or not you should buy a 13-inch Swampzilla today. So the obvious thing about this board is now you've got so much real estate to actually ride around on. If you were ever worried about stepping a foot off the board or slipping off the board here, this is going to pretty much solve that problem. You can stand right in the middle and your entire foot has still got space on the toe and heel. You've got all the area you could possibly imagine, which has its benefits and has its negatives. The first negative would be that when you want to do a trick, it's going to be a lot harder to flip it. For example, for a kickflip, it takes a lot more power to actually get the board to flip round. But that's not the only problem you're going to have. Not only is the board way heavier, so that when you pop and flick, you've got to flick it a lot harder to get the flip, you also have to go a lot higher, and I'll tell you why. For example, let's say you're kick flipping the board and it's flipping that way. You flip the board, and then it comes to about 3/4, you can hit the side so much easier. Just because of how wide the board is, your kickflip not only has to be flicked a lot harder, it actually has to be popped a fair bit harder as well, just to make sure that you get the clearance needed to save yourself from a primo-like scenario. The sad thing about this is, while we all hated primo to begin with, if you didn't know, primo is when you land like this, you can't actually even land primo on this board. So if you were to land like this with your feet here, the board would just shoot out from underneath you. When I was trying the double flips, I mean, I battled the double flip on this for like 20 minutes, half an hour. Did land it eventually, but the amount of times where I landed like this, and then my feet like shot the board out, and it come up and smacked me in the shin, they're still sore to this day, and that was like 2 weeks ago. So there's plenty of things to consider when you're trying to buy one of these. I would say the majority of people that buy a board like this don't tend to go for double flips and stuff like that, or tray flips, because it's more of like a novelty cruiser bowl shape board, but there's more to go over than that. So let's jump into it real quick. The next positive we've got is, obviously, when you do get the trick, if you've already got a solid pop shover or a solid kickflip and you think you can take it to this board next, even if just for like a little challenge for yourself, you've got so much more to land on. So yes, you do have to flip and flick it harder, but you've got a lot more there to get yourself away with. Like a pop shover like that. See how I had almost all the space in the world? But it's not just the tricks and stuff that are going to be affected, it's also the setup of the board. You can't just go buy yourself a 13-inch Swampzilla and expect any set of trucks or wheels to work. It's just not going to happen. The size matters more on this than it does on pretty much any other board. So let's talk about the trucks. These are from Slappy, and these are called the Curb Killers. Now, if you'll notice, they've actually got a picture of the egg on there, because they're a collaboration between Heroin, the brand that makes the board, and Slappy Trucks, who are my truck sponsor. So big up Slappy, absolutely love them. Anyway, these trucks are specifically made for a much wider board. These are the 10 inches. I think Slappy has another bigger set that's going to come and fit this board even better, but you'll need at least 10-inch trucks to ride this, and even then, it leaves some slight issues that I'm going to take you through right now. So on a normal board, when we lean left and right to decide which way we're going to go, normally you can just lean that way and you'll go that way. However, if your board and trucks are slightly mismatched, being that a 13-inch Swampzilla and a 10-inch set of trucks, because while they are almost perfect, they do leave a bit of room for wheel bite, which is why you need to have riser pads to try and combat that right here. Essentially what will happen, if you lean too far forward, babes, if you go all the way over there. So if you lean too far to one side too quickly, the board will wheel bite. You see, it wasn't too bad because we've got the risers and the 10-inch trucks. So for most people, when you're just riding, it's gonna be fine. But if you land a trick and you're slightly weighted to one side like this, you might just catch a wheel bite on landing and get thrown off the board, especially if you're moving with any speed. Now that I've gone over a few negatives, let's get over one of the main positives, and that's just the fun of the whole thing. If you just want to have fun, if you just want to cruise, if you just want to chill and have a nice big board that you know you're not going to step off of, then this is probably the one for you, to be honest. If you're an older gentleman who just wants a door, essentially, to skate on, then this is probably what you want to go for. When it comes to cruising around the park, it's pretty much unmatched in comfort. Like, just having enough space to constantly move your feet around and be a bit sketchy like that and not die is a luxury to have all that space. So let's do a quick pump around the park. If I get wheel bite, we'll know it's not as good as we thought. Oh, it's beautiful. It feels amazing to skate around the park, I can't lie. See what I mean? You've got so much real estate for the shove it out the bank that it's kind of hard not to land it. But the only real issue, the only real danger is landing in that wheel bite that I just spoke about, because that will throw you off the board quick time. And also landing primo and hitting yourself in the shin. That's also a big thing to worry about. But if you're not doing many flip tricks, especially if you're not doing double flips, you should be totally fine. So just be aware of the dangers, look forward to the positives, and just be wary that it's going to be quite an expensive setup. When you put this whole thing together, it's going to be close to £300. That's about $360. That's because the trucks are generally fairly expensive for the larger size. The board's about $120, £100 here in the UK. And the wheels and stuff, you're going to be looking at about a $300 setup. Maybe $360 is a bit much, about a $300 setup here. So if you want to invest in this, make sure it's something that you really, really want, because it's going to be expensive and the parts aren't going to be able to be mismatched and changed onto other setups as easily as your regular board would be. So Holly's about to prove to you how good the real estate of the board actually is by tackling the local mega ramp, the local slightly inclined floor. Go on, babe, show us how it's done. Are you going to sit down?
Yeah, I'm not standing on it.
What did you say?
I'm not standing on it.
Oh, God. Go on then, show us how it's done. It's like a toboggan.
Oh my God, it's so fun. That was really fun.
Right, with that all being said, let's end this video out of a kickflip, and you guys can let me know in the comments exactly what you think of the Zilla. See you in the next one.